Well, hello. Today we are going to be talking about the Gates of the Arctic National Park. Um, this park is located in the northernmost extension of the Rocky Mountains, north of the Arctic Circle, all the way in Alaska. This is where she lies, and she was established, or she gained her status as a national park from the National Park Service in 1980, specifically December 2nd, 1980. Um, and this is a mammoth of a national park. In total, the national park and the preserve has a staggering size of 8,472,505 acres, which is in total 4 times as large as the Yellowstone National Park. But it is the least visited national park of them all. Why is that? Let's dive into the climate and the temperature first. So being north of the Arctic Circle, you might assume it's freezing there. Has to be freezing all the time, and sort of right. So according to the Köppen climate classification system, the climate is considered subarctic. So it can drop to around -75 degrees Fahrenheit. And it relatively has cool summers, though sometimes it's able to reach up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, possibly due to climate change. And year-round rainfall climate, wherein they get about 12 to 18 inches per year. And alongside the north side of the Brooks Range, it's a slightly different atmosphere. It's even colder. That's where it has the tundra-like climate, and it's much drier and it doesn't have as much plant life. So you can see down at the bottom on the right, that's about it in summertime, and then to the left, that's wintertime. And you can see the differences in what it looks like, obviously, from the temperatures. So the wildlife of the Gates is extremely diverse. They have an extremely vast ecosystem. So some of the herbivores home to this park include the caribou, which that's the most populous animal here. There's about 500,000 in population. This is an extremely important source of food for the natives on the land. There's also lemmings, voles, marmots, and muskoxen. And the mesopredators, these are relied upon to regulate the population. They're the red and the Arctic foxes, as well as wolverines. And then some of the scavengers, they play a vital role by consuming the dead and the decaying matter on the land would be brown bears, and the red fox as well play a role in this area. And the top predators of the parks would be the grizzly bear, where there's about 132 bears in the park, and there's about one per 100 square miles, and the timber wolves. So keep an eye out. And then to dive into the plant life that is on this gorgeous land, there's a bountiful boreal forest, which includes black and white spruce primarily. There's poplar trees mixed in as well. And the importance of this kind of forest lies within the roots and the soil of these plants because it has an extremely rich surplus of carbon dioxide. Um, Although interestingly enough, the north side of the Brooks that I was talking about, this tundra-like climate, very dry, it's really different landscape as you can probably assume. The harsh weather really just kind of like stifles the forest growth. So there's more low shrubs, grassy tussocks, just not as much vibrant plant life as you would see on the other side. And if you're already convinced, if you're already planning your trip to the Gates, and you're thinking, what can I do? What are the activities that they have to offer? So, even though they have no designated roads, they don't have any trails, visitor facilities, they don't have cell service, they don't even have designated campgrounds, technically, the opportunities for recreation are still extremely numerous. Camping is still permitted throughout the park. There's some guidelines and restrictions for a cooperative camping experience, such as to keep in mind the environments are fragile. Wearing soft-soled shoes, is one example of a way that you can help protect the delicate ground. And moving campsites every 2 to 3 days was a recommendation that they made as to not disrupt the ecosystem. So remember that you're in their home, and as well as ensuring to not cross the native corporation lands. And during your stay here, there's 8.4 million acres available to hike, to be in. There's rivers to explore, which you can dive into some aquatic activities. Fishing as well is permitted, and sport hunting is allowed strictly on the preserve, just not in the park. And if you perhaps aren't proficient in camping, hiking, or backpacking skills, which they do recommend for a camping trip here, or if you lack the time or the commitment, local air taxis also offer flight seeing trips, day trips, or overnight camping in restricted areas with guidance for support. So there really is something for everybody. As you can see, this guy's here is loving it. And we're going to dive into the topography and the geography next. So what's really interesting here, it's situated west of the Dalton Highway, and it's centered on the Brooks Mountain Range, covering the north and the south slopes. So other mountains here are the Endicott and part of the Schwatka Range. And there are no designated roads or trails here. And the closest that they get to a road is the highway, which comes within 5 miles of the park. However, park to road access requires a river crossing. So that really just kind of adds to the secludedness of it all. And adding to the majestic beauty of this would be the six wild and scenic rivers to boast, which are free flowing, friend to the fish and wildlife ecosystems. I also included that the highest point of elevation is at 8,510 feet. And kind of for a reference, the highest point in Michigan is Mount Arvin, located up in the UP, which is 1,979 feet. So it's quite a difference. Um, and there can't always be all this beauty without something that could possibly harm it. So the increasingly warming status of the world has really put this natural earth kind of in danger. From 1985 to 2017, the areas of snowfields in this ecosystem have shrunk 13 kilometers squared. Perennial snowfields and glaciers have also decreased in size. This can ultimately be very dangerous because all these factors can impact the stability of the soil. They can contribute to water contamination and small landslides due to the permafrost thawing, as you can see down here, and rapid carbon release, which all in turn can long-term affect all aspects of the ecosystem. So as I said, these this plant life has such rich ecosystems because of the surplus of carbon dioxide. But then due to the warming temperatures, it's exposing all of it and it's releasing it, and then it's kind of just a cycle and it just keeps recycling it. But there might be some good news. According to the 2017 State of the Park report, the following were considered to be unchanged or in good condition at the time. So the air quality, the geological features and processes, water quality and quantity, landscape and ecosystem processes, fish, mammals, and the dark night sky, which includes, light pollution and clarity. This does not mean that the environment cannot continue to diminish, but with climate mitigation, the ecosystem seems to be under control and is being well maintained at the moment. And now you're hooked. You're set. You are already planning your trip and you're already planning your finances. And what makes this place so interesting as well, even more? So I would say to me, what really stood out is the Gates of the Arctic is the second largest National Park Service wilderness area in the nation. But like I said, it's the least visited. And for reference, in 2022, the Grand Canyon had 4,732,101 visitors, while the Gates only had 9,457. And I saw a couple things saying it could possibly be due to the remoteness and skill set necessary to fully explore. So that's something to definitely keep in mind, but it's really interesting nonetheless. And the park is home to the longest wild and scenic river in the United States. It has an insane length of 425 miles, which, while we're talking about the Grand Canyon, it is about 1.5 lengths of the Grand Canyon, just in the river alone. And there are also three indigenous communities that still reside on the lands to this day and have been around for more than 13,000 years. And personally, the large part of this allure to me is the beauty and the reserved nature of the land. It's been mostly untouched by modern society. And from the pictures alone, it has otherworldly views. And I think it'd be a really eye-opening experience to see this kind of undisrupted land and, just kind of fully surrender to the earth's beauty and to just be in the middle of the woods and really absorb this kind of scenery. To conclude, I have all of my sources for my images and my websites that I got all my information from. And Thank you very much.